Okay, this is a really bad joke that one of the actresses that I worked with during my senior project put on Twitter. The Earth is so lazy, it rotates once and then just calls it a day. Pretty crazy. Next stand-up comedian. Same exact.
Exactly.
Still have three more there. Although honestly, I could use the time to get on the starter.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just gonna start over. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Barthelmess, and for my senior project, I decided to dive into professional theater. So, what did I do? For my senior project, the first week, I worked alongside our amazing theater arts teacher here at the Art School, Liesl Emke. I helped her teach her Theater Arts 2 class, and so I started to learn about theater in terms of education and teaching it. And so the Theater Arts 2 class had written a bunch of 10-minute plays, which some of them ended up being 20-minute plays, but we didn't have a lot of time to have them memorized and really produce them, so we did readings, and I learned the difference between a stage reading and a play reading. So a play reading is when you're all sitting in chairs, and then you stand up when it's your turn to speak as your character, and you have a stand with your script on it, and you're just reading it as the character, and that's how the show goes. But in a staged reading, you have your script in hand, and the blocking is all mapped out, and you're previously directed. And so blocking, if you don't know, is the action and the movement and the placement of the characters that you see. And so we did 3 staged readings and 3 play readings. And they performed all their plays on their Thursday block during school. And something else that I got to help them with, because they had never written plays before, I also helped them with some of their playwriting, so that was really fun. The second and third weeks, I got to work with Taylor Grenlow. This is Taylor. This is actually an old photo. It's from my sophomore year. It was when I first met Taylor. Taylor's a friend of Ms. Emke, and also he's the artistic director at Tesseract Theater Company here in St. Louis. And in this photo, we were doing monologue work, and he came for a mock audition and was working with us. And so because we had this connection, Ms. Emke reached out to him and let me reach out to him, and I asked him if I could help them work on their show, Spinning Jenny, at Tesseract Theater. And so he said, of course, we'd love to have you. I came in and I basically shadowed, which meant that I observed, took notes, and asked a lot of questions. And they also let me do some things where I could contribute ideas to their scenes and blocking and just working during rehearsals. And they also, the stage manager couldn't come for 2 days, so I was their stage manager for 2 days, which I've never done before. I had to write down on the blocking, and I'd be like, wait, can you go back and do that again, and etc. And then I also did rehearsal report, which was all very new. So I learned a little bit of stage managing as well. If you'd like to buy tickets, metrotix.com. They're doing their show this weekend and next weekend. So go ahead. Yeah.
No commercial.
On top of all this, I did YouTube. So I also learned what it was like to be a vlogger. And if you've seen my social media, you probably have seen me say, new vlog is up today. I have learned that being a vlogger is really hard. People do this professionally. They get, it's a real industry. It's really difficult, and it takes a lot of time. And I'm going to go more into that, but I really enjoyed it. One of the reasons I decided to do this was because when I did my pitch night in March, it was just seemed to sort of be missing something where I was going to how I was going to document all this. And Layla gave me the idea to say, hey, why don't you vlog? That would be a really good idea. And I'm so open to that because I had been enjoying watching other vloggers on YouTube who are doing it and making a living of it. So I thought it was a good part of it. So why did I decide to do theater? I love theater. I've been doing it my whole life since I was a kid. The first show, this is one of the first shows I was in when I was 9. I played a Munchkin in The Wiz. I played 4 other characters, but this is my favorite costume. This was me when I was 12. I sang Popular in front of camp from Wicked, and I asked my friend to make her face green. This was freshman year when my sister and brother were here, and we were all involved in production in Bye Bye Birdie. one was Cinderella, which was last year. If you were here, I played Charlotte. And the most recent one, Big. That was me with William on the piano as Macmillan. So I love theater. I've always had a passion for it, and I've also been thinking it's what I want to do. So going back to the first slide, this, I don't know if you noticed, but the stage picture that I have in the background is the stage at Nazareth College, which is where I will be attending next year. I will be a part of their BA Theater program, and in order to do this, I had to go audition. They narrowed it down to some 20 people, and I got in. So I'm very excited to attend there, and I also wanted to take these 3 weeks to really see, is this a passion that I really want to do with my life? Because some people say don't do theater if you don't have to, because it can be very taxing, it can be very difficult. It's not always stable in terms of finance. And so I really wanted to see, is this something I'm really passionate about that I want to continue? So some beginning worries that I had, I was worried in not learning anything. I was worried about going to a professional setting being like, oh, this is just like high school. I was also worried about being an annoyance. I didn't want to be a burden to them, and so I was worried about that. I was worried about being bored and realizing that this wasn't a passion of mine, and then having to change my major in college and whatever. And I was also worried about being stuck doing sets and tech. So I basically told them, I will do anything you want. I am yours for the taking. But I did specify that I like to focus in acting and directing, but I also do whatever you want. So I was worried they're going to say, oh, so you're going to paint this, and then you're going to set this light, and you're not going to see any rehearsal. And so I was worried about that. But nothing happened like that. So all of my worries did not happen. I hopefully was not an annoyance. I don't think I was. They really seemed to love to have me there. I was not bored every single rehearsal. I was absolutely jazzed. I was so happy. I was loving what I was doing. I didn't want to leave. We would go till 10 o'clock and I'd be like, but let's do this scene again, or let's figure this out, and we had to go home. And then I did see a lot of differences between high school actors and professional actors, and something that I think Ms. Enfield does really well is preparing us for professional business, the industry professionally, but there's a difference between the actors in high school versus the actors professional. And I did not set a single light or paint a single set. So I was so full in with acting, directing, and a little bit of stage managing, which I mentioned. So some of my major points that I learned I wanted to talk to you about was organic directing is the first one, and there's a lot going into this. So Taylor Grenlow, who I mentioned was my expert, and he talks about that there are some directors who are like, okay, you're going to take 2 steps, sit down, put your hand on the table, blink twice, then say your line. And it's like so structured and you're like a robot. Whereas he's saying organic directing is where you say, okay, you enter here, you exit there, and doesn't say anything about the scene and what they do. And you say, go. And you have to let the actors make decisions in the scene. The actors just go with it. They have their scripts and they figure it out, and then the directors work with the decisions that they make. And that's one of the biggest differences that I saw between high school and professional theater, is that in high school, you're not, like the actors who come into high school, they're not necessarily comfortable, and they don't really know what decisions to make. Whereas in professional, you've been acting for a while, and you can just sort of go with your guns. And that's one of the things that Enki works with her classes a lot, is about making decisions and teaching us to just try, which I think improv also helps with a lot. And once you make those decisions, the actor or the director will work with you and figure out what worked and what didn't. And that's also a term that Taylor used a lot, blocking that works and blocking that doesn't work. And so I have a quote here when I did an interview with him. He said, blocking doesn't work when it doesn't allow the actor to give truthful emotion. For example, they know that they are on stage by making it work by breaking character. And so when a blocking or an action is not allowing a character or an actor to make the character real and give truthful emotions, then the blocking isn't working and they need to restructure some things. And so I thought that was really interesting. And also, a lot of times, we had so much collaboration. One of the things I love about theater is how collaborative it is. It wasn't just Taylor people are saying, okay, you go here, you go do this, and then everyone else was just silent, like, okay, I'm here, gotta say my line. And like, there was so much collaboration where the actors would give their input and say, what about this? What about this? We could try this. I think this character is feeling this, so we should do something different. And so sometimes Taylor would be like, yes, let's definitely try that. And then sometimes he'd be like, oh, but okay, let's try it just to see what it looks like. He would say that a lot. And trying things just to see what it looks like, to see if it works, and sometimes if it doesn't work, that would create a different situation where we could then build something from that. And then it did work. So I thought that was interesting. There's so much collaboration with that. So organic directing. Character analysis. This is something that we do a lot. They do a lot in professional theater. We don't do it as much in high school theater, but my theater arts 2 class, our final was to do a character analysis, and I was like, why are we doing this? Like, why do we need to know this? In professional theater, this matters. Character analysis. Taylor would ask a million questions like, why is your character feeling this right now? Why are they motivated to do this? Why are they saying this? Like, what could they be doing that forces this line? And he would just ask this, and the actor, as a professional actor, had to be like, well, and then go on and have to know their characters so well that they can answer those tough questions. And sometimes it was hard, but most of the time, the actors that were there were very good, and they would just have a monologue to say about their character and what they were feeling. And I thought that was so interesting. A lot of times with character analysis would come theories. I realized how much I love this about theater, is the theories that we'll make up about text, about characters, about the scenario, the story. And so one of the reasons I love theories so much is that it's kind of like an Easter egg hunt, where it's not something that the actors are telling you in the show. Like, they're not like, okay, so you are this thing, and this is a hidden thing we want you to find. Like, they don't tell you, but it's something for the audience to pick up on, or to find for themselves, and there's just little hints. And so an example of this is in Spinning Jenny. It's set in a carnival scene, and so we have a Barker, and we have decided that he is a fallen angel who is in control of the whole carnival. And so we don't directly say that. We're not like, hey, remember when I fell from heaven? It's like, it was just, there's one scene where Jenny, the main character, is on the merry-go-round, and she's so upset with her life because she feels like it's just a constant spinning, and it never stops, and it's just the same thing over and over again. And she's very distressed, and she yells to God, and she says, I don't want to spin no more. And the Barker hears this, and if we hadn't decided that he's a fallen angel, then this blocking would make no sense. But because we decided this, he lifts his arm, and then the lightning strikes on the carousel. And just that is something that the audience would be like, why did he lift his arm? Why did that happen? And see that there's something deeper there. So I love learning more about theories and making up theories in theater. And also, with character analysis comes finding truth. And when I say truth, I don't mean like God, Christian Science truth, but I mean like truth for the character themselves. What is true to the character and what is real to the character? And really finding that is what makes theater great. It's what makes it entertaining. It's what makes it an impact on the world. And that actually leads me into my next point, the importance and impact of theater. Real isn't always entertaining, but I find that it's a lot of times it's more important for change. So I'm going to quickly talk about comedy versus sort of darker plays. I love comedy, and I think I've done comedy, and it's great to leave the show feeling lighthearted. And also, you can bring sort of bigger issues into comedy, like SNL. They do, current issues all the time. They'll make fun of it. But a lot of the times, that only strikes conversation and laughter, not necessarily action. And I feel that the darker plays, which Spinning Jenny is a little bit of a darker play, really leaves the audience thinking and feeling like they need to do something. And that can strike change in the world. And so I think that theater is so important in that sense, that a lot of times the darker plays do leave an impact on the world, and something that people don't necessarily want to talk about is suddenly in their face, makes them realize that change has to happen. So I thought that was really interesting. Something else I want to talk about is film versus theater. There's a lot of, we had lots of talks about like which one is better, which one is more important. I feel like one isn't necessarily better than the other, they're just different. And so with theater, a character can be in the audience just right here and just like in your face, and a lot of times with that it makes you feel like you're in the scene. You're a part of their life and you're watching it. And so whereas in film there's sort of this sort of barrier and you can't connect to the characters as much. Not that I'm saying, because my mom cries in movies all the time. So like, so you can definitely move an audience with film. I'm not saying that at all. But the thing I feel like in theater, you feel like you're there and you feel more connected to the characters because you feel like you're there. But film reaches more people. So there's that debate. You have to choose to go to a play, to choose to go see theater. So it really depends. Maybe just a debate that we sort of talked about. Technical difficulties, these are just sort of little things that I learned. The audience's experience. You don't want the audience to determine how you run your play. You can't be like, but this is more entertaining, so we have to do this because the audience is going to hate it if we don't. You don't want the audience to run your play and make your decisions for you, but you also have to sell tickets. You have to keep your experience in mind. And so there's a fine line with that as well. Rehearsals, there's fun and focus. And so we love having fun, and it was fun to goof around, but there's also, the director has to pull everything back in and say, okay guys, we have to focus, let's keep going. So there's that. And line memorization is so important. And I feel like it's something that if you know you're going to do a play, you should hop on and get really fast. Because a lot of times, if you forget a line, it completely breaks up the scene. It completely stops everything, and it slows everything down. And it makes it a lot harder to figure out your character and to really get deeper into the character analysis, into the directing and blocking. And so going into theater, line memorization is so important. Okay, so a big question was, do I feel prepared to go out into theater now that I've had this experience? I feel way more prepared than before. I feel less intimidated by, I guess, big directors or producers or actors, because they're really just people who are doing the craft and love it as much as I do. And so I feel much more prepared to go into college and meet all these big professors and etc. So I do feel more prepared. Do I feel completely prepared? No. There's always more to learn. Okay, so on top of all this, I did YouTube and I vlogged with my camera that my mom won't use. And so I learned how difficult it is and how much more respect I have for those who do it professionally. There are daily bloggers who film, edit, and post every day. Do you know how hard that is? On top of editing, for one, for me, editing could take from 1 hour to 7 hours. It can take for a really long time. And it's all about intricate details. And so on top of editing, you also have to make thumbnails. Which, a thumbnail is the first picture you see on a video. And it takes a while. And what I did, I would look at what other people were doing and sort of like the outline thing that I did. That's something that other YouTubers were doing that was working for them. And so I tried to copy that and see what was best for me. And yeah, this video is 17, I had an hour and a half worth of footage, and I cut it down to 17 minutes. It took me all day. It took me from 10 to 5. Anyway, so vlogging was very difficult, but it was also very fun. And creating content that I thought my audience would like was more on the happy side. I think people will like your videos more if they're seeing you being with your friends and being laughing and goofing and enjoying your life and seeing what you're interested in. And so I tried to steer my content more towards that and showing them, oh, this is what we're doing in the rehearsal today, and isn't this funny? And like I would do fun challenges like with Molly. That's like my favorite video. It's so funny. Okay, so now you guys can all follow me along at home. Everyone take out your phones. YouTube.com. Okay.
Don't subscribe.
So you're gonna type in YouTube.com. All right, everyone with me? BRITTANY JUNE space or return. Subscribe. That is how you subscribe. Very simple. Yeah. Okay, so now just to give you a sort of sense of what my vlogs were like, I made this channel for my, I made a trailer for my channel. Enjoy this video.
Hi! What's up, guys? Good morning. Welcome back. It's Brittany. Hey, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Today is Thursday, the 3rd of May. It is the 4th of May, 7th of May. Today is May the 12th, the 8th of May. Today is the 2nd. No. Yes. No. Yes. Today is the 2nd of May. I think. It is a beautiful day out. Look at how beautiful it is out today. Okay, so I'm about to go to Rehearsal Silver Track Theater. Right now, I am driving to Dot Zach. Okay, let's go. Yeah, it's a successful first day.
You're acting you're supposed to act. Be the hell do it the way you do.
And then came the time to become a professional actress. You're the song Etch-a-Sketch the musical.
Subscribe to Brittany's channel because she needs followers.
That's all for the vlog, guys. Bye-bye. See you all tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah, do I want to continue the YouTube? Yes. Not today, probably once, maybe twice a week, but I think it would be fun to continue doing YouTube. So if you want to subscribe and see what I'm up to later in college, I will probably be uploading. Thank you all. I don't know who's presenting next, but it's time to get ready. If you have any questions, I guess you did some.
Yes. What was your favorite part? The YouTube, TED Talks Theater, or
working at the theater arts now?
Probably Test Track Theater was my favorite part. No offense to the theater arts. I know listeners like it's so great. No, but I just love seeing. I love the actors there are fantastic, and I love working in a professional setting and seeing this is my future, hopefully. And they were just also kind and fun, and it was just making your theater, and I just love that. Editing was the most difficult, and making time for it. Because in our senior project, we had to like make a calendar, and I was like, okay, edit for an hour time every day. That was not enough time. Just making that channel trailer, which was 3 minutes, 4 minutes, it took me 5 hours. So. Anyone else? Okay, thank you all.